This is a great honor for every fan of the Dallas Cowboys. I'm honored to be in the NFL.
What can I say? Mamba out.
What's going on, everyone? Welcome to your Friday edition of the afternoon show here live on the Elite Sports and Entertainment Network. Once again, it is Friday. It is June 27th, and we have a great show lined up for you here today. We're your host and producer, Logan Landers, and I'm joined by the Gonzaleses, Chris and Tony. Guys, how's your week been? How's it going? And any plans this weekend? Any wrestling shows you guys got lined up?
Well, we don't have anything for a few weeks. I don't think our next show is till middle of July.
Okay, all right. Just taking a little bit of a summer break and enjoying it there. Chris, anything on your plate?
We're supposed to have a big show this weekend, but transmission went out in my car, so changed some plans for about a week. Then we'll be back at our normal stuff.
Yeah, car issues, all too well known, right? And they always seem to happen. It's never like, whenever you're having a good day and it's like, all right, everything's fine. It's like, no, you always have something coming up, and then, oh, my transmission blew out, or I had a flat tire, or I hit a nail, or something like that. It's always whatever force there is doing that. It seems like at the most inopportune times.
Oh yeah, we got lucky because we was about an hour away from home when it first started messing up.
Well, at
least we was able to get back home and then get stranded out of town.
I was about to say, we're glad that obviously y'all made it back, and here today. Also, we got Joe chime in. What's going on, man? Hope you've been good. Before we get started here today, guys, if you enjoy the show, please like, comment, share, subscribe. We go live Monday through Friday here on the afternoon show, as well as various other shows here on the platform that you know and love. You can check us out on Facebook, on YouTube, Twitch, TikTok, any of our social medias. Find it in our link tree in the description. Easy to find. One-stop shop for all of our shows here on the network. So let's get into it, guys. The NBA draft, it has come and gone now. The second round took place last night, and people are still kind of buzzing about the draft. And, I feel like it was kind of a foregone conclusion, Cooper Flag going to one overall. It feels like that was just in the works for once the college season ended, that's how it was going to go. I don't know about y'all, but the what I've been hearing the most of, the player I've heard most about so far isn't Cooper Flag, actually. It's been Ace Bailey. And just the situation they've got going on in Utah, where he obviously he was a guy who had we'll call it a unique strategy, right, to get drafted. He didn't work out, I don't think, for any teams, and he was very selective in a way about who he wanted to go to. But is that kind of the new style? It feels like where obviously players kind of have more control now more than ever, with NIL contracts and everything along those lines, that, they feel that, I don't know if entitle's the right word, but that they can, say, hey, I don't want to work out for this team, or I don't want to go to this team. But ultimately, it isn't up to them. And Utah obviously liked his skill set, thought he'd be a good fit, and they ended up drafting him. But it did say that he did not get on the plane to go, I guess, visit the facilities the other day. So there's going to be some issues there. Looks like seemingly till training camp kicks off. But just kind of give what you guys have heard throughout the draft the last couple of days, and any other insights you got. Chris, we'll start with you first.
No, I agree. Most of this talk has been about this Ace Bailey. Now they're saying he might not join the Jazz, is what some reports are. But then I'm seeing a report coming out from his team saying that them reports are false. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens there. But I didn't watch a whole lot of the draft. I did like what the Pacers did last night with the couple of guards they got in the second round after they traded away their first pick. I think Cooper Flag is going to be really good. I think he's going to have a big impact with Dallas. And Dallas, I think, is going to be real good this year if they can stay healthy, and then Irving gets back. They already had a good roster, and then adding a player like Flag, they could be a pretty scary team this season toward the end of the year.
Yeah, and Tony, what were your thoughts?
Yeah, Bailey, I seen some reports on that too. I kind of agree with you that, I mean, players back 10, 15, 20 years ago, even further, were when they come in the league, they were hungry. Now with the NIL, some of them are making big money already. It may seem entitled, I guess he could sit out a year, and then I don't know how that works if they lose his rights, and then say he could go wherever he wants to go or get drafted again. I'm not sure on all that. I think he's a talented player. I think he can help that team, but I don't know about his attitude. And I've seen some other attitude. I mean, if you watch the whole draft, there was another player when he got picked. I can't remember his name now. He was in the top 10 who shook his head and said the F word because he wasn't real happy with the team he got picked by. And these guys got to know. I mean, if you're a top 10 pick, more likely you're not going to go to what is a winning franchise right away. I don't think that was the problem with Bailey, because Bailey wanted to go to, it was kind of weird. He wanted to be drafted by Washington, and I don't remember the other. He wants to stay close to home. That's what they said. He didn't want to go to Utah. He didn't want to go far away from home.
Right,
And
because he went to college at Rutgers, I believe,
Yeah.
which is in upstate. So he wanted to stay in the north and not go to Utah, where it's kind of a wasteland of just there's not much to do there. But I think kind of the strategy that I'm getting out of this, and I think kind of what the agents are telling these players, because I mean I think that a lot of it comes from guys getting in their ears and saying, hey, you should say this or say you don't want to go here, or say I want to play with this team or whatnot, and that's just to drive up how much that really teams are wanting to sign him for, right? Because let's just say, for instance, Bailey didn't want to, let's just say, didn't want to play for Utah or whatever. Well, if I'm his agent, whoever, I'm like, hey, look, we don't have to show up. If you give me an extra $5-10 million, sure, we'll sign. But it's not, it's an odd situation with him. And then you had mentioned the other player whose name escapes me at the moment. He was drafted by the Raptors. I know who we'll talk about here in a little bit. That was Colin Murray Boyles, number 9 overall, is who that was. Now he said that it was more so just he was kind of shocked to hear his name. But yeah, I mean the verdict is kind of just up in the air. You know what I mean? We'll see how it plays out. It wasn't a good look, but like I said, we'll talk more about Toronto specifically kind of towards the end of the show.
According to Shams on Pat McAfee's show, that Ace Bailey is ready to play basketball and the Jazz are ready to welcome him, and that he expects that Bailey's going to be joining the Jazz before Summer League starts on Monday. So
okay,
that's according to Shams, and he's pretty plugged in.
Yeah. I'd say Shams is kind of since Woj retired or gave up breaking news, he's kind of been the de facto go-to guy for a lot of, for the most part, basketball headlines. He covers other sports also, but basketball is his NBA. That's his main one. Also, what's going on, Sony? Hope you're doing well today on this hot Georgia summer day here in June. I did see something else, guys, with the draft, and that is Dylan Harper, who last name Harper, father Ron Harper, as we know, he's playing the NBA for many, many years. He got picked number 2 overall with the San Antonio Spurs. I like the pickup, but what I'm more sort of here to talk about is how much money he's reportedly already signed for. Guys, he has already signed a 4-year contract for $56.1 million for his rookie deal. And that includes $25.4 million guaranteed within the first 2 years, and then 2 team options. So he's under contract for 2 years, and then San Antonio can decide if they want to keep him for the remainder of those 2 years, which, if all things go well, hopefully a number 2 overall pick, you would want that. But he's already made more than his father made. Ron Harper made right around $35 million in 15 years. Meanwhile, his son gets drafted, hasn't even played a minute in an NBA arena yet, and he's already guaranteed to make 25. And if all things go well, he'll make that 50 plus. But man, the money and with the CBAs and the Players Association, they have really kind of skyrocketed here, really in the last 10 years, more so than any not. Because remember, I think it was around 10 years ago, where like guys like was it Luol Deng were getting signed for like $70 million because they got all this money from, TV contracts and whatnot and network deals. And it's only gotten more and more. I don't know if the game's just got more popular, more marketable, or a mixture of kind of all these things in between. But just the amount of money that these guys are signing for, and this is just, kind of the main one that everyone's talked about. But I think he'd be a good fit in San Antonio. It's going to be very odd, though, I think. I mean, after Pop announced that he's not going to coach anymore, it's sad to see, obviously, with how, it went about. But you would hope that with this team and with Harper now that, San Antonio with obviously Wembanyama, Stephon Castle, if they do end up keeping De'Aaron Fox, we're not sure. That's kind of been out there in the trade rumors. I mean, San Antonio, I don't know if this is, like a championship year or anything crazy like that, but I think that they could definitely be competitive if all these young guns they got play at potential. But just let's get your thoughts on just the money that's being thrown around to these guys. And Tony, we'll start off with you first. With Harper here and just how much the Spurs are going to pay him.
Yeah, I brought that up yesterday because I'd seen that about his dad and what his dad made and stuff. It's pretty crazy with the money, and it's just gonna get more and more, with the TV contracts and things. So and like I said, now it's even different with some of these guys already making millions of dollars in NIL. So it's crazy. Like I said, it changes. Like when Larry Bird coming into the basketball in NBA, he come out of college and he was hungry. I mean, he came from a farm in Indiana, and he was hungry to make it to the NBA and was just thankful to be there. So it's definitely a different time, and but there's a lot of great young talent. I love what San Antonio did with Harper, and then also getting that Carter Bryant. I think San Antonio maybe the best draft. So San Antonio is going to be a good team. So it should be interesting.
And Chris, your thoughts?
Yeah, it's crazy totally what these NBA players are making now. Because if you look at it, a lot of bench players, there's bench players that are coming off the bench making 40 million a year now. I mean, so it's crazy. But with these rookies, what's crazy about it is they're slotted like like the contract's pretty much predetermined by their draft pick, and then the CBA, according to where they get drafted, and then with the CBA, the team can offer them a contract between like 80% and 110% of that range. That's they come up with a formula on. So, I mean, so a lot of these rookies are getting paid like that, Harper, and that's just crazy that you're coming in, boom. But like you guys said, with the NIL, a lot of these guys are already millionaires before they're even getting in the league. And I think that's why you're seeing a little bit of the stuff with Bailey. I think you're going to see more of that now because a lot of these guys feel like they have leverage because they already have money. Which, yeah, you have the money, so you don't need it as bad, but you still don't have a whole lot of leverage because the Jazz has his rights. So I mean, if the Jazz want to stand their ground, it's either you play for us or you don't play in the NBA. I mean, so it's going to be interesting to see if he really don't want to go there, how far both sides will dig in. But yeah, the salaries are just going up and up, and everybody wants to talk about ratings are down. But yeah, if you go by traditional TV, yeah, but if you look, traditional TV ratings for everything is down, not just NBA, for everything. There's not as many people watching traditional TV anymore. If you look at the NBA on social media and stuff like that, that's where they dominate with their ratings and getting their game out there. That's where most of the younger generation watched it. Most of them watch their games in highlights. They don't watch the whole game. They watch highlights on their phone. Or they got on the NBA app. You can watch the games on your phone and stuff. That's how most of the younger people I know, that's how they watch the game. They don't watch it on cable or like we did back in the day. So you can't really go by the cable ratings. So and the way social media is, everything's going up. These salaries are just going to get bigger and bigger.
Yeah, and I mean, I think that's just, kind of how things change, because it was radio for the longest, when the NBA first, when it was first going on, it was hearing the radio, and then television came along, so on and so forth. And streaming is now kind of the current, way a lot of people watch games or highlights or just social media in general. And whatever it may be, 10 years from now, it'll blow up also. I'm still trying to wrap my head around the fact that Brooklyn drafted 5 guards with their first round draft picks. I mean, I'm trying to understand the vision here, guys, because that felt like it was such a lock for them to trade at least one of their picks, if not package them a player for something else. But the GM, the coach, whatever it may be, clearly thought that all 5 of these guys are hopefully the answer to a season in which Brooklyn last year they finished only at 26-56 was their kind of final record. And I mean, if you look at their last year's roster, there's not a whole lot of like well-known guys. You know, Cam Thomas is kind of their one big rising star. You'd say got someone who can put up points a lot, but I mean, have you guys still come up with an answer for why they've done all this? I still can't understand why they drafted 5 guards it's in a draft. I mean, you had all these other options, but you choose to go, shooting guards or point guards. Is this smart, or is this just a kind of hit you over the head? What are you doing type of situation? And Chris, we'll start off with you, man. Well, I still don't understand this.
The only thing I could think of is they're going to end up getting rid of some of these guards, because I mean you can't carry that many guards on your team. Kind of like what the Reds used to do with freaking shortstops. Let's draft every damn shortstop that comes out of college, and it seemed like that was all we were drafted there for a while or trading for was shortstops and second baseman. We had plenty of middle infielders, and I think that's I don't know what Brooklyn's doing.
I'll tell you, and Bo, the great guy, saying they keep saying basketball is positionless, and the Nets are kind of taking this to the next level. I say
either they're thinking they're getting some assets that they're going to be able to move, or they're, like he said, they're going to try to play small ball, and I don't know how that's going to work. You get against some of these teams that have a couple of bigs now, because it seems like a lot of teams are trying to get 2 bigs now. So if you go small, it could hurt your big time rebounding wise.
Well, I mean, we saw with Tony, I'll get to you in just a moment, but it's just I don't think I'd be quite as confused by this if it was the entire draft, right? First and second round, I could maybe understand it, but they were all first round picks. You'd only fill 2 spots, essentially, 2 positions on your team, which if I'm on the Nets currently, and if I'm a point guard or a shooting guard, why would I want to be there when I have 5-6 dudes breathing down my neck now trying to get my job? I just can't understand why they did that, especially like I said, they're all first round picks. If they were second round, I could maybe see it. I mean, it also reminds me, Chris, you brought up a good point with the Reds, how they were, getting shortstop after shortstop. I remember a couple of years ago, I think it was maybe 2021, give or take, the Los Angeles Angels. And baseball has 20 rounds. They drafted all pitchers. They drafted starters, relievers, you name it. And I don't know if, 1 out of the 21 or whatever have even made a significant impact in the majors.
Who was Brooklyn's starting guards last year? I'll be honest with you, I can't think off the top of my head, but they might be. I would say they're getting ready to make some moves. Like they could be going to try to trade some guys or something if you're drafting that many at one position.
So let's see. I got this pulled up here, and then Tony will get your comments. So they have Cam Thomas, who is a good player. I think he's a starter for sure. Terrence Mann, who they just traded for with Atlanta in Boston a couple of days ago.
Yeah.
So that's, I mean, you also have Cam Johnson, a small forward. Some other just guards, right? Just guards on your team. You have Reese Beckham, Igor Demine, Tyson Etienne, Killian Hayes, haven't heard that name forever. Keon Johnson, Tyrese Martin,
Some of them guys are
D'Angelo
gone.
Russell. I mean, a lot of these guys ain't going to make the team now.
Yeah, a lot of them guys are going to be gone.
I mean, Russell, he's only, man, I forget Russell's still kind of young. He's only 29, but he's been in the league for 10 years.
Yeah. They might keep Russell to have off the bench, but a lot of them other names are probably gone.
They're probably going to get cut. Because I don't know if I don't know if the NBA is like this. If someone in our comment section knows, please put an answer. But I know the NFL if you draft a guy, you can't trade him for X amount of days or time or whatever. You have to keep him or cut him. And I think with Brooklyn, that's what they're going to have to do.
Well,
They can keep these guys, or they can just get rid of them or ship them
Well,
out.
another thing they do a lot of in the NBA is they do those two-way contracts where you
You
play
play for
like
the G League.
you play like 45 days in the NBA and then you play G League. So that's what they do with especially almost all the second round picks anymore are two-way contracts.
Yeah, and Tony, let's get your thoughts on just the puzzling moves that Brooklyn's made.
Yeah, I was really puzzled by why they didn't trade a couple of those picks. Even if they weren't going to get no big name players out of it, you could have got more draft picks for later on. I mean, because you're definitely going young and you're definitely basically starting over because they don't really have any stars. So I wonder if some of you guys, like you said, probably going to play small ball, probably going to play basically 3 guards, basically, swing position. So, yeah, it did make a lot of sense to me. I'll be honest. The way they did it, why didn't you pick up? There was a few big men in there that they could have took. I didn't think there was a lot of power forwards this year, though. I thought there was some centers, and I thought there was a lot of guards. But it didn't seem like there was necessarily a lot of 6'8", 6'9" power forwards this year compared to some years past. At least not that stood out to me. But yeah, it was interesting. But yeah, I don't understand it.
Yeah, we'll see what happens, and we'll see from now till training camp and summer league and all. A bunch of guys who didn't get drafted sign with teams, and if they stick on or if they make it through. I'd seen where I forget the guy's name, but he was the leading scorer in college last year. He was number 1 overall in points per game. He played with, I believe, Villanova, and he has signed an undrafted deal. I'm like, wait a second, you're telling me? And I get the NBA is a lot more exclusive with their draft because they only have 2 rounds. But I'm just kind of curious how a guy who leads the NCAA in scoring doesn't at least get drafted. I mean, maybe if he's just slow or whatever, he's sluggish on the court. Sure, go him in the second round. But you're telling me a guy who averaged, I think it was 23 points a game in college. I mean, I don't care who you're playing. That's still good production. It's at least worth a flyer, I would say.
Well, I was surprised that Walter Clayton Jr. Didn't go higher. I know he still went in the first round, but I thought he would be a higher draft pick than what he was after seeing him in the March Madness tournament. Like I do balled in that tournament. I really thought he'd be a little higher. I think the Utah Jazz, especially if they can work this, if it works out with Bailey, I think they've done good in the draft getting Bailey and that Clayton Jr.
Yeah. We'll see how it goes with all that, and like I said, we'll keep you updated on all these players, where they're moving, and who's going to make an impact this year.
Real quick, Logan, what do you think about the Atlanta Hawks getting Porzingis?
Here's the thing, and I'm sure everyone has said it. You've already seen it all over, and it's going to preface everything I say. If he's healthy,
yep,
I think it's a good pickup, right? I'd seen the other day. I don't have it in front of me, but I think it's in the last, let's just say 4 years, he hasn't played in 60 plus games, which is worrisome because he's only going to get older. But you see, obviously the averages are still there. He still plays well. But did we ever figure out, guys, what the heck happened at the end of his Boston run? Because they said it was some undisclosed illness, but God, he had to have something just almost terminal, you would think, if he was. I mean, because he was out for basically the whole playoffs, it felt like.
All they ever said was that it was some type of virus. They never said like what kind of virus.
Yeah.
Only thing they ever said was that it wasn't COVID, but that was the only thing they ever said. But they never just said what it was. But yeah, it basically took him out of the playoffs. Like even when he tried to play, he wasn't right. Like, and he only played a few minutes because he couldn't breathe.
Yeah, but so you can see him on the sideline, getting oxygen or an inhaler or just helping getting just back into his body and into his lungs. It's tough to watch, honestly, at times, just because you could tell he was struggling. It wasn't like a lack of effort, obviously. It was just, you can only do so much with whatever your body tells you. And, I think that, with what Atlanta gave up, which I like the fact that they were able to keep their higher draft pick, right? They kept the 13, but they gave up the 22 because they didn't have 2 first-round picks. I was surprised that Boston or that Boston and Brooklyn, they didn't say, hey, we want your higher pick. You can keep the lower one. But I like that one. And then with Atlanta, or excuse me, they drafted. They originally got Derek Queen, right? But we saw he got flipped and he went to New Orleans because God, there were so many trades in this draft too, and we see it all the time, especially the NBA, which also just I think is so stupid. Where guys get drafted, you wear the hat for the team that drafts you, and then you get traded a second later. You know, I mean, the one I always see here in Atlanta, obviously, is Luka Doncic with the Hawks hat on, and then Trae Young with the Mavericks hat.
Yeah,
but I always thought that was stupid.
It was stupid because they know the trade's happening before the pick. Why not just put up there that, like last night, Indiana had traded up and got the 38th pick, but it still said San Antonio was picking. Just put up there that the Pacers traded for the pick, and that, I mean, I don't know why you can't just do it like the NFL does. Like there's a trade now, the Pacers are making the pick. Like especially because they announced it like we knew like 2 hours before that trade had happened and that the Pacers were going to pick at 38. Yeah, I've never understood that. And yeah, why have a guy wear a hat that for a team that he's not even on?
Chris, I was going to ask you. If it's okay, I was going to ask Chris something real quick. It is about the Pacers. I know you're happy with Cam Jones. I am too. Averaged 19 points a game, top 25 scorer in college basketball, and where they got him at. I thought a lot of people thought he was going to go the first round, so I think they got a great pick there. But I was wondering what you think about this Taylor Peters, the guard that they got from Liberty, who averaged almost 60% from the floor and shot 45% from three. He was the leading as far as 3 points. He had the best percentage in college in 3-point shooting. I was wondering what you thought of Taylor Peters.
Oh no, I really like both the picks that the Pacers got. I think Peters will fit in good. You can see they went and got a couple guards, and also the first guy, I can't think of his last name now. Jones. What was it, Jones?
Yeah, Cam Jones.
Yeah, Cam Jones. He's also good. He's a good distributor too. He's a good passer. So I think that's a big plus since we just lost our best passer on our team for a season. But I think they got some guys that go in because Nembhard's going to move over to the point. I think Matherin's going to move into the starting lineup is what I think is going to happen. I think Matherin's going to move the point, or Nembhard to the point. Matherin will probably play the two, and then you'll have Neesmith, Turner, and Siakam for the rest of the starting lineup, and then you have McConnell coming in off the bench, and hopefully one of these young rookies or Jarris Walker. I think Jarris Walker could really maybe become our sixth man. Maybe take Matherin's spot as that sixth man because Walker was starting. He played some big minutes in the playoffs, but they're toward the end of the season. He was really starting to come together during his rookie year. And then you got these guys. So it's going to be interesting. I still think we're going to have a good team next year. Of course, it's going to look a lot different without having Halliburton. But no, I like what the Pacers did so far in the draft. And I mean, we pretty much have everybody back other than Turner. It's the only one we don't have under contract. And I think we're going to sign him.
Logan, let's say Porzingis stays fairly healthy, plays 65. I think the average anymore for NBA is about 60 some games is the average
at this point. Yeah.
Yeah. So say he plays the 60, 65 games. What do you think Atlanta, where could they be? You think they could be a top 6 team in the league, especially since the East is a lot different now with the Pacers, with the injury with the Pacers, the injury with Boston, and also Boston getting rid of players. Is Philadelphia going to stay healthy? A lot of people are picking the Knicks to be the number 1 team, possibly. What do you think? Well, how good can Atlanta be? Do you think they're a playing team? Do they make the playoffs with Porzingis and a healthy Porzingis? And I know that's an if. How do you think where do they fit in?
Over the last couple of years, the Hawks have been very mediocre. And I say that because if you look at their records, it's very similar, right? It's 41-41, 43-45. I mean, you know what I mean? So you're not dominating in wins, and you're also not one of the worst teams in the league. You're very middle of the road. We saw that last year. I thought that they could be, I'm not saying top 5 or anything like that, but I thought they could be a definitely, let's just say 7 seed. With once you saw that Jalen Johnson started to get hot, right? Trae Young, he's you know what you're going to get with him. He's always consistent. You saw the emergence of Dyson Daniels as well, being the NBA steals leader and one of the best defensive players in the league. So I like, just that emergence. And then you saw some guys, step up from here and there, like a Vic Krejci here and there. Of course, you saw with, the center position, you had Capella, who's been, kind of been there for 5+ years now, give or take. You have a Kongwu, who they drafted in the first round a couple of years ago, who everyone is just kind of saying, okay, is it his time yet? Is it his time yet? But when you add Porzingis and also when you add Asa Newell, who they drafted in the first round, and like I said, they had the number 13 pick. They still traded it. They gave it the number 23, but I thought they were smart because they got another pick for 26 in the first round, which they needed another one since they only had one selection this year. I thought that was a good move. Like, hey, you trade back 10 spots, you still get the guy you would assumedly want. And you get a first round pick for 26, and I think they have 2 instead of 1 now. But with Newell, he's going to be probably the backup, small forward, power forward. Just kind of depends on how the lineup shake up. I think he's like 6'11", 220, 230-ish. Played for Georgia, and also just real quick, I don't know what the Falcons and Hawks. I don't know if they had a meeting here semi recently because. The Falcons, as we know, drafted Jalen Walker out of Georgia, the hometown guy, and then now the Hawks also go back to UGA and they get Asa Newell out of Athens. So I thought that was just kind of interesting, the correlation between those two teams. But I think ultimately, Tony, I think that if there is a healthy Porzingis, if Trae Young can shoot like he has, if he's a good distributor, if Daniels can have even half the season he had last year on defense, which was phenomenal. You still got your young guys. You got Jalen Johnson coming back, hopefully fully healthy. And the kind of the big factor, you said, the East with all the injuries that have happened, and I did a video with Jay about it. It's on our channel. You can check it about how we think it's going to look. But we all agree that the East is not going to be what it is this year because it's 3 really big injuries to 3 players with Lillard, with Tatum, and, of course, with Halliburton. You have the Knicks, who are still, pretty much healthy with the brand new head coach that could revitalize the team in a way and kind of it might even take them over the mountaintop, depending on if they can gel like they did this year. That's how you guys know the fight they gave y'all in the conference finals. But I do think that they would be, let's just say if he's a top 6, I think they could be a top 6 team because we don't know what Milwaukee's going to do. Are they going to keep Giannis? Are they going to trade him? Because that's kind of looming over everyone's head too, because that's been discussed. The Celtics, we saw they're trading people off left and right. They shed hundreds of millions of dollars in like 3 days, just getting rid of guys. So I don't think Boston. I think they're still going to be competitive, but they're not going to be top seed, even a top 3 seed in the East this year. And of course, we got Mike chiming in. He's saying if the Knicks don't make the finals in 26, those injuries, they are cursed for life. I think so. That I feel like this is their right now. They're probably the most complete team in the East at this time with health, with the new coach who hopefully it works out well for them. But they're still a really good time. And he said the Bulls have the Giddler, Josh Giddey, of course. How could I forget? But I do think Atlanta is going to be a top 6 team if all things go well. And everyone comes back healthy.
The Knicks and Cleveland are probably your 2 most complete teams in the East right now, the way the rosters are right now, until you see like what everybody else does, but see what Milwaukee does. I still think the Pacers are going to be I think the Pacers still could be a top 5, 6 team in the East.
I could definitely see that.
We have a good roster. I mean, I know we lost our guy, but we still have Siakam and we have a good roster. And if Mathurin makes the jump that I think he can make, because he could be a 20, 25 point a night guy. And I think they thought he was going to end up being a starter. He started some last year when Neesmith was hurt. And if he's going to get his chance this year, and if he matures like I think he's going to, I think we'll still be pretty good. And then we get Halliburton back with Mathurin with that experience, then we should even be hopefully even better. So,
I mean, obviously the hope for y'all is that, you go through the season, you're a good seed, you advance, let's just say conference semifinals, and then you hear, okay, hey, Halliburton might be back. I mean, that's kind of what the hope is, I'm sure. Just kind of get through the season in a playoff seed and hopefully do well there. But like I said, there's still free agency, obviously. So we're going to see where who's going to want to go to Indiana. We haven't even obviously touched on that yet because we haven't seen much. But that's going to be telling here. I mean, even just within the next couple of weeks, how different these, especially the East. The West, obviously, they have their own. They're all loaded over there also. But specifically in the East, how that's going to shape up, kind of in the Wild West right now with all the injuries and the draft now situations going on. But let's go over this football news, guys. Let's talk some football. Justin Tucker, as we know, I guess we say once hollowed kicker for the Baltimore Ravens. He's been suspended 10 games for this season due to violation of the personal conduct policy. Now, it is also important to note that Tucker is currently a free agent. He is 35 years old. He was cut from Baltimore back in May. He's there for 13 seasons. And we know, obviously, he's one of the best kickers in the 2010s, 2020s, one of the just best of all time. He's the most accurate kicker, 89% accuracy. Longest made field goal in NFL history by him also. He did struggle in 24, though. Career low percentage, only 73% of his kicks went through the uprights. And as we know, Baltimore, they got Tyler Loop in the 6th round this year to replace him. And it's reported that no teams, or that Tucker has not visited with any teams since he was cut. So I think personally, and I'll turn it over to y'all. I think if I'm him, man, just what else do you have to do? I mean, on the field, right? On the field, there's nothing else you can do. I don't know if people are going to want to take a chance. It's not, let's just say competitive teams, right? Because competitive teams, they're already, for the most part, locked in with kickers. How many are going to want to take a chance on a guy who has, all these off-the-field issues now that you hadn't had in years past? And then you add that on top of the fact that he's coming off of the worst season statistically of his career. And, hell, even if you do sign him, he's not going to be here for 10 weeks. So he's essentially just kind of taking up a roster spot. So, I think the most likely outcome, if I was to, have a genie in a bottle or whatever, to say what's going to happen, I think he's just going to retire. He's just going to, or stay a free agent for a year or two, you know what I mean? And then eventually hang up the cleats. Maybe see if someone would take a flyer on him, or hell, who knows? He might even one day go into like the XFL or something if he really wants to keep playing, because I'm sure they'll take him over there. But I don't see many teams signing a guy who's older, who had a worse year last year, who's now going to be suspended for 10 games, even if you do sign him for off-the-field issues. So I think this might be the end of the road for him. But we'll go to you first, Tony. And does Justin Tucker have a career left in the NFL, or is this it?
I think it's pretty close to being it, except I do have a question. When the season starts with him being a free agent, does the suspension start for the first week, or does it wait till he signs? Okay, it starts the first week. Okay, so he could wait.
Yeah, that's what my point was going to be. He could serve the suspension as a free agent.
As a free agent.
So if somebody waits till November to sign him, then he can play right away.
Yes.
And the thing about that is the reason I think he could play again is because if a team, let's say the Kansas City Chiefs, they're a possible Super Bowl team, and their kicker goes down. Now you've got an experienced kicker who's been there, who's been in the playoffs. I know he had a down year last year, but I think he plays again.
Yeah, and also, Chris, before I give it over to you, I did also see that the earliest he can, or he'll be eligible for reinstatement on Tuesday, November the 11th, is when he could, get back in the league if they let him, after he serves his suspension. But do you agree with Tony, or do you think he's just going to ride off into the sunset?
And if he was to sign with the team, he can go to training camp and do preseason, and then the suspension would start week 1. I think he's probably done, but I think if he does sign with a team, it'll be in the middle of the season. A team maybe, I think that's the only way somebody's going to take a chance on them is if they lose a kicker and they need a kicker, and he's out there and available. For one, because you'll get some media pushback if you was to sign him as well. But I can see maybe if somebody getting hurt, that he'll be back. But if you look at it though, he didn't have a great year last year. I think that's more of the reason that he got released from Baltimore than anything was he struggled last year. He fell off a cliff compared to what Justin Tucker usually was. So I think that had more to do with. Then you go with the personal stuff that's going on. I mean, that didn't help matters, but I think a lot of it was his performance. So, but I do think that there's a chance, maybe November or December, that he gets on a team. But to me, the suspension's a joke. I mean, let's suspend the guy, but he can serve it as a free agent. That makes no sense.
Yeah.
I mean, if he's suspended, he should be whenever he signs a contract. That's when the suspension should start. And like I said, I don't know what the guy. I don't know if he's guilty, none of that stuff. But I mean, if you're going to get a suspension, if anybody's getting a suspension, you should have to serve it when you're on a team. Not you can serve it as a free agent, and then hell. If I'm his agent or him, I'll just wait. I'm not even trying to really sign anything until that's over with, and then I'll be able to play. And if I'm a team, why not wait? I can talk to him and be like, "Hey, we'll sign you after your suspension's over. Why even mess with it? Because then if you sign him before it, then you're going to be hearing people talk about where he's at, suspended. You wait till the suspension's over. That's less. If you sign him, that's less for people to talk about. So."
Maybe he can go the Morton Anderson route and just kick till he was like 44, right? Just keep bouncing from team to team. We'll see him in the league. He's 45. It's like, oh, here's Justin Tucker lining up for his 10,000 field goal.
I don't even know if the Colts have a kicker yet, because we got rid of our kicker from last year.
Let me dig real quick.
I can't remember if we've signed anybody, but we got rid of Gay.
You have.
Might have drafted somebody.
Is it Spencer Schrader? That sound right? Or I don't think you might not even have one.
Yeah, I don't know. I can't remember if we drafted one or if we still haven't replaced Gay, because we had Gay and we released him.
Yeah, 2 years into a 4-year deal is when y'all cut him. Okay, yeah. So Spencer Schrader looks like who's going to be on the depth chart for kicker number 1. He's a second-year guy who obviously backed up Gay last year. So they're hoping that he's going to be the answer. But I mean, it's always kind of risky to have just a first-year kicker in general. Because you don't know how they're going to do. But I think it's also it's kind of another red flag if this is now a second-year kicker who hasn't really seen a whole, wasn't initially a starter, but now is kind of getting thrust into that role. I mean, he played with a lot of teams last year, right? I'm seeing articles here that, I mean, he played with the Colts, the Jets, and the Chiefs. So, I mean, he played with 3 teams last year before coming over to y'all. I mean, if this is my team, I don't feel confident in this guy.
No,
that's why I brought the Colts up, because they might be in the Justin Tucker conversation in November.
Yeah, they very well could, but we'll see. But we'll wrap up our football talk there, guys. We'll go not to the diamond, not to the playing field. We're going back to the courts now. Former Tampa Bay Rays shortstop Wander Franco, his situation finally came to an end the other day in court. And let me get this article pulled up here. And this is on the New York Post. The headline reads, Wander Franco found guilty of sexually abusing a minor. He was sentenced to a 2-year suspended prison sentence by 3 judges at a court in the Dominican Republic. Also, in that case, we saw, all the details are in there if you want to read it. But I believe the mother in that case, yes, the victim's mother was also convicted of sexually trafficking her daughter and was also given a 10-year prison sentence. So essentially, Franco isn't going to have to serve hard time, like a lot of people assumed. But they always say you have your time in court, and this is what the court gave him. Like it or not, that's what their decision was. So he gets he gets that 2-year sentence. mean, from what I've seen, it's pretty much just like a probation type of sentence. So it's a suspended sentence. So it's not like you're going to the big house, for 2 years. It's sad to see on all fronts, obviously. But just specifically talking about Franco, I mean, man, the Rays, they signed him to that huge contract in 21. And Tampa, as we know, is a small market team. They don't hand out contracts like that unless they think that, you're kind of a superstar. You're, Longoria or Price, just kind of two of the names immediately. Or they don't do that much. They obviously believed in him, and then not long after we learned all those just horrific details, and now it's come to a close with the sentencing for all parties involved. But we'll go to you first, Tony. Just now that this case is finally wrapped up, it seems.
Yeah, it's a sad situation. It's pretty crazy. I don't know how a guy gets 2 years suspended sentence again. I don't know all the details and all the facts and everything, but unfortunately, in my opinion, it probably should have been a lot more than that. But it is what it is. It's just a waste of a career. He'll never play again, and he shouldn't. So, crazy situation.
Yeah, and Chris, just let me get that contract pulled up here that he signed. And obviously, I think that he was on the restricted list by Major League Baseball. I'm sure now they're going to just flat out remove him, go through the process of that. They'll kick him out. If I'm guessing here, they're just going to ban him from the league. But it was an 11-year deal for $182 million. That was going to run through like the 2032-2033 season. So, I mean, this was supposed to be the franchise cornerstone. Now we saw what all happened, and now he's got that 2-year suspended sentence. Hey, Chris, what are your thoughts on it?
Yeah, I don't think he'll ever play in the league again. I just think it's crazy that it just shows you what you can do if you have money, because it's crazy that he gets a 2-year suspended sentence and the mother gets 10 years in prison. So I mean, you would think that'd be a little more equal, because I mean they were both part of the trafficking and the exchange of money. So it shows, hey, if you have money to pay for good lawyers and stuff, you can get things accomplished. But yeah, I wonder if the Rays have any outs where they had to have some kind of outs on that contract where he's not getting all that. I'm sure he probably got some of it, but there's no way that they had to have some kind of out if he done something stupid where.
I think I had seen the other day where it's like they paid him like up to a certain amount, but once he then went on that restricted list, then I believe the payments stopped at that point. But I don't know if it's like officially off the books yet. I don't know any of that.
I'm gonna say, because I couldn't see any way they would.
That wouldn't make any. It wouldn't make any sense.
If they didn't have some kind of out in that contract, they're stupid. Decide that somebody that much money and not have some kind of out if something goes wrong, because you don't want to be stuck having to give him all that money and him not be able to play. So, yeah.
I would think there's some, null and void in the contract as to where they can get out of that.
You get yourself banned from the league, you don't get your money. There should be some kind of clause like that there. Yeah.
So just a quick Google search here, and if this has changed, we'll find that out and talk about it later. But so at this time, he's still on the restricted list. Like I said, if I had to guess, they're going through the paperwork right now to just ban him completely. Meaning he is not being paid and he is not accruing any service time either, which I'm sure there's bonuses in your contract for that too, right? If you're in the league for 5 years or 7 years or whatever, you get a little bit more money. But that followed his administrative leave, during which he received half of his salary. So essentially, he got half his money. And then he stopped getting the payments once they put him on that restricted list. So he's gotten, I guess, half his contract, it looks like. And also, let me just see where Dustin, he said anytime a player goes on the restricted list, the payments stop, right? So the Rays owe him nothing until he comes off, but similar to the NFL, They're always opt-outs tied in for legal reasons, so the Rays will be done paying him unless they give him another chance. Which I don't think they're gonna anyone would sign this guy. If he plays, he might play in the Dominican Republic, but he's not playing for the MLB anymore. I don't think that's gonna happen. But
I don't know. I wouldn't think, but
we've seen crazy things happen in sports, right?
Nothing would surprise me. Nothing surprises me anymore. So it wouldn't surprise me if because he's only 24. It wouldn't surprise me.
Yeah, he's still young.
It wouldn't surprise me in a couple of years if he didn't find his way back in the league somehow.
We'll see. We'll see what happens. But that was that verdict came out the other day. So just talk about that, guys. We're gonna go back to the NBA here. Real quick, he says, I would say if by some chance someone gives him another chance, then Trevor Bauer better be getting a deal as well. Trevor Bauer ain't getting a chance also.
Trevor Bauer should be in the league.
I don't know, Chris. You say that, and this is on the field, just personally. He has the worst ERA in the Japan Baseball League, wherever he's played.
Well, he should have been in the league a couple of years ago. He shouldn't have got blackballed, is what I'm saying.
Okay, I understand. Right now, specifically. Okay, I got you. Okay.
He should have been in the league a couple of years ago, and instead of being over there pitching.
But yeah, thanks for that, Dustin, for clearing all that up there. But all right, guys, we go back to basketball. Go back to where we all started. This is going to be in the front office, though. Came out today, kind of a very surprising move. The Toronto Raptors and their vice chairman, as well as President Masai Ujiri, they have parted ways just one day after the completion of the NBA draft. The Maple Leaf Sports and Entertainment, which owns the Raptors and the Toronto Maple Leafs, let Ujiri leave with a year left on his contract. I haven't seen any reasonings behind why he left. We know obviously Toronto struggled last year, only 30-52. But I was very surprised because it seemed like in all accounts he was kind of I'm sticking up. This is my team. He was a proud kind of vice chairman. You kind of heard about him either making statements or whatnot, kind of out in the media more than a lot of these guys in the front office. So I was surprised to see him leave. Like I said, I haven't seen any reasoning that's been given at this time. But yeah, and Dustin says it was more so just parting of ways. Which that tells, I don't know, that has to tell me that it's either two situations, right? This was happening for a while and they chose to do it on this day. Or I don't know if the higher ups with Toronto did not like the draft that happened, if depending on how much say he had in it, and they said we got to get out of here. So it's a weird situation, and for Toronto, a team who just a little bit over 5 years ago won the championship, they're just a shell. They're just kind of uncertain, right? There's a lot of question marks around this team, more so before, especially now. That your vice chairman and whatnot has left. And real quick before I get to y'all, Dustin says, from what he's heard, he was trying to convince the Raptors to make a trade for Giannis. However, the ownership group didn't want to do it, and he felt that his time has run its course after that. So that could be a very, very good, very respected reasoning if that is the case. And we'll see once a lot more outlets kind of get their hands on it. But that could be obviously that'd be a big reason. But I was still surprised to see this move happen just the day after the draft. Chris, what's your initial thoughts on Toronto still just shaking up everything?
Yeah, from what I heard is basically I heard the same thing as Dustin. I heard that he was wanting to make some trades, and he couldn't talk the Raptors into doing it, and he was frustrated and decided it was time to move on. And I look for him to end up with another NBA team somewhere. He was the one that done the trade that got Kawhi there, that got them their championship. So the guys had success there as an executive. So I'm sure he'll end up on his feet somewhere else. But I do, yeah, I think it was. I do from what I've read and have heard. I think it was some frustration where they wasn't listening to him, and he kind of felt like it was time to go somewhere else where maybe they'll listen a little more.
Yeah, and Tony, let's get your thoughts on that one.
Yeah, I heard pretty much the same thing. I also have heard some rumors about some other teams interested in him already. So I know there's been some rumors that maybe you might see with the Lakers with new ownership. You may even see the Lakers might be interested in him, and so I think that he will land on his feet pretty quick.
So I've also seen. I'm just kind of searching the web here for any reasonings. This is also another case too that I have that need to look at. This Twitter account is saying that Masai has higher aspirations other than running a basketball team. Some might say either doing some charity or even some political work. So just kind of leaving the sport overall, which I think that's a very legitimate possibility. What's your thoughts on that? Let's go with Chris first.
Yeah, that could be very well as well because I think if I was reading, he's involved in some minister stuff as well. So he might be going on something like that, or going to get political. It seems like a lot of people are starting to move to politics now. A lot more people are in the sports world are starting to move to politics. So it could be something like that. It'd be interesting. Dad, you mentioned the Lakers. I heard that the good possibility that the former GM of the Warriors at Myers is probably going to end up being with the Lakers eventually, and probably and maybe even Magic Johnson will probably be back as one of the executives at the Lakers with this new owner, the guy that owns the Dodgers, with him buying the Lakers. I've heard that Myers and Magic Johnson both will probably be back on their executive staff somehow.
Yeah, Bob Myers. Yeah, he was. He left Golden State in 23. I think he started doing some ESPN. Yeah, he did some commentary work. But obviously those guys, if they get the chance to go, somewhere else, they're gonna leave the microphone behind. They're gonna go back behind the desk there.
I guess they're real good for. I guess they're real tight with the owner of the guy that owns the Lakers now. So
it wouldn't surprise me because Myers is a California guy, right? He grew up in looks like I went to Danville, California. Played basketball at UCLA in the mid '90s. Like I said, was in Golden State, so he knows. If the Lakers snatch him up, or even the Clippers, because they are in the same state too. I'm sure they're. It's really team loyalty. Be damned, it's whoever pays me. That too he'll go to, and we've seen over the years the Clippers are also very aggressive. In just making moves, and hasn't worked out quite as well as they'd hope, but they're willing to go get top general managers, executives, players since Steve Ballmer took over a couple of years ago. But yeah, we'll see what happens with Masai, and if he stays on with our team, goes into a political or charitable realm, or what happened. But it seems like all signs are pointing to he'll land somewhere. Just like I said, not sure where. Well, guys, before we wrap up the show today, any final thoughts you got, or any other topics you want to bring up before we end the show?
No, I don't think so.
All right, Chris, anything you got?
Either of you guys gonna watch a Jake Paul Chavez fight tomorrow?
That's tomorrow. Okay.
Yeah, I don't plan on it. Look, I whenever he first started boxing, I'm not saying I watched in full, but I was like, oh, he's got a fight tonight. You know what I mean? I'll flip it on whenever it's on and see if he's getting beat up or not. I've never been like, oh man, I gotta sit down and watch this Jake Paul fight. But no, I don't think so. I've seen some of the back and forth, on social media with was it Chavez said the other day in some podcast? It's like, if this guy beats me, I'm just quitting. Like, I'm just done. He said I can't lose to him, but. I'll ask y'all this: is the reign of terror finally over? Right? Is someone actually going to knock him out or whatnot, or is it just going to be another fight where you hope something good's going to happen, but it's hey, here's an extra couple $1 million. Let's make this look competitive, or and they make buku cash, as we saw whenever he fought Mike Tyson, coming up on probably a year ago, give or take. But all right, but what are we thinking? Is this another Jake Paul classic? I put quotations around classic, or will Chavez? Will he finally be the ray of hope for a lot of people watching?
I think it's going to be same old stuff. I hope Chavez knocks him out, but like you said, I think it's more entertainment than anything. Chris, what time is that fight tomorrow? You know?
Hold
'Cause I
on.
know I'm gonna be watching WWE tomorrow at 1 o'clock, and then I know we got UFC at 10 o'clock. I just didn't know what time the boxing match was.
Yeah, I'm trying to. I'm looking here, just trying to find some more
Yeah, I'm
info on
looking
it.
at this. I know it's tomorrow, but I can't remember what time.
Let's see. Well, okay, that's it. They make you kind of scroll through a million different things just to find what time it starts. They ever just say, "Oh, well, it's at the top." No, we got to put. They got to put the betting odds. We got to put everything else. Okay, so I found it here, guys. The main card will start at 8 p.m. and it's expected the Paul and Chavez fight will start at 11 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. But like you had mentioned, Tony, and also, let's go back here real quick. Joe says, "I hope Jake Paul gets his bum ass knocked."
I hope Chavez beats him, but Chavez is also 40 years old.
Yeah, that's the problem.
That's what worries me a little bit. But I guess at least he ain't freaking 60 like Mike Tyson. So
yeah. I mean,
I hope Chavez knocks him out, but we'll see what. I'll probably watch it.
Okay.
If I'm home.
Yeah, but if you're
8
home
o'clock tomorrow night, I'll probably be. I probably won't be. I'll probably be done working, so I'll probably watch it.
It's at 11, so you still got some time after the fact. Just
I'll be home by the Jake Paul fight.
Yeah, but
see,
I mean, what's up?
You got UFC too tomorrow night, so I don't know.
UFC on as well, so I'll probably watch UFC until that fight, and then I'll probably watch that fight, but I probably won't watch the whole card.
That's a lot of fans ain't leaving tomorrow. If you're a kind of a combat fan in a way, or wrestling fan in any sorts, because like Tony, you had mentioned, there's a pay-per-view on in Saudi Arabia, which first off, God, I hope all those guys are safe out there. And second, it threw me off because he said they're starting at 1 p.m. I mean, that's wild to me. Just let me grab some lunch and watch a live wrestling show.
Oh, there's times that UFC will be going live, and it's like
11 a.m. Yeah,
they've done that, and they've done it when it's like 3 or 4 in the morning.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I've seen them at 7 a.m. before. Yeah,
7 in the morning our time and shit. It's like,
what are y'all doing out there? Yeah,
I like watching UFC, but damn, I'm not getting up at 7 in the morning to watch UFC.
You're not eating with your breakfast. You're not getting your coffee and eggs and toast and watching some UFC.
It has to be a pretty big fight for me to get up at 7 to watch it. And like Olympic wrestling, I'd get up. I get up at 5, 6 in the morning during the Olympics to watch wrestling because that's when it's on a lot of times on TV. So you have to get it if you want to watch it. You have to watch it like at 5 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah. Now, also, you'd mentioned it's funny. You mentioned the Olympic wrestling, Chris, and that brought me up to an article I had seen the other day. I don't know if you guys saw it with Hulk Hogan.
Yeah.
And he has that new new company, I guess.
The freestyle wrestling.
The freestyle wrestling, which he calls Real American Freestyle, brother. They're struggling right now to sell tickets to their first event. So, according to a report here, only 380 tickets. What was that?
Where's the first event at? You know, does that happen to say?
It's a big stadium.
You don't have to like.
It's at the Wolstein Center at Cleveland State University. The total capacity is 13,077. And so far, only apparently 380 tickets have been distributed.
When's the first event? When is this?
August sometime.
Yes, you have 66 days before the show.
Okay, I'm about to get on to get some tickets. I'm about to go to Cleveland.
So here's the thing, right? Is the stadium seats 13,000 or whatever, right?
Yeah.
They already tarped it off to where only 3,882 seats are available, and they've not even sold 400 yet. I mean, my God, what? I mean that's just not great. That's not the start you want.
I hate to say this because I'm a big amateur wrestling fan. I wrestled since I was 4 or 5 years old, 5, 6 years old, coached high school wrestling. But it's just not, there's not enough people interested in in freestyle wrestling that they'd be lucky to get to draw that 3,000 or 4,000, especially to me in a place like Cleveland. If you were going to try to do that, I think you need to do it in Iowa or like on the Penn State campus, somewhere like that where wrestling like rules right now. And I think dude, they had a better chance of drawing like in Iowa for a long time. That was like their main sport. So if you had done it like close to the Iowa Hawkeye campus, your first event, you might draw a lot of wrestling fans because that's what you're going to draw. It's more of a niche thing where it's not going to draw the mainstream people. Like, yeah. And like when I said I'd go to Cleveland, I'm serious. I'd go watch it but I'm a big fan of it. Mm-hmm. And the way freestyle rules is changing. And another thing, the only time in the United States, the only time you wrestle freestyle, once you get up to like middle school and above, is in the Olympics or in like off-season tournaments. High school is folk style, college is folk style, totally different rules. So a lot of people that all they ever have seen is folk style wrestling, and then you turn on this freestyle and it's totally different strategy. And a lot of people don't understand it because they're used to seeing the more American style, because we're the only country that wrestles folk style, which is like the collegiate college rules. All the other countries wrestle Olympic style, which is freestyle and Greco. And see, here in the United States, you wrestle freestyle and Greco in like AAU as you're a kid, but once you get in school, you don't wrestle freestyle or Greco during school stuff. It's all on your own doing freestyle and Greco. So a lot of people, if you're not pursuing like the Olympics, a lot of guys don't even wrestle much freestyle because they're training to go to college and try to win a national championship.
So go ahead, Tony.
I don't understand the strategy because just like AEW, it's a different type of wrestling, but they were doing big arenas and they had to cut back because it was just a waste of money. And so they should have started at a 2,000 or 3,000 seat place.
Not 13 and then cut it down to 3.
Yeah, that's just a waste of money, and also it don't look as good, and you don't, and even though you may have 3,000 people, it's about the atmosphere. See, AEW's went to these 3,000 seat arenas and they'll sell 2,500, but it looks full, and it's not only that, it's more compact and it sounds great, and it looks great. Or if you go into a stadium that holds 13,000 and you've tarped everything off and you still have 3,000 in there, you've wasted money. Plus, it don't look as good and it don't sound as good.
Yeah, I was going to say, a building that holds 3,000 is a hell of a lot cheaper than a building that holds 13,000 as well.
I would say it's just not like it's not a good look, like just cosmetically or anything. Also, let alone with this is your first event. This is when hype it should be. Should be one of your all-time sellers right here because you're just getting started. And I looked here, Chris, if you're interested, right, for anyone else who's interested, this is for ringside seats, right? Just you're right there, row 1, seat 4, right there on the ring. So this is essentially one of the highest tickets, $241.35. So under $300, you're getting a front row seat. And the tickets are as cheap as I've seen, like $28 to $30, give or take.
And it's something new. Plus, Hogan be a part of it will turn some people off. Izzy Martinez that he has involved in it he's a hell of a wrestler. Good guy to have involved in it. I hope it succeeds. Like I said, I would love for there to be a professional level for the amateur guys to go. I wish it would be more collegiate rules than the freestyle rules myself, but I wish there. So I think there's a way it could be done. I think I agree. You can't start with the big buildings, and I think if you marketed it and done it like your events, like at some of these college campuses, like Penn State, Iowa, Minnesota, where they're known for wrestling.
Ohio State.
I think that would help. Ohio State, and it'd be cheaper. Go to one of these colleges that have these wrestling facilities that hold 3,000 or 4,000 people. Hold your events there, and you're going to draw some of the people there, and I think you'd have much better chance to succeed. Yeah. Because I went to the Olympic trials here. It's been 20 years ago. They had it at RCA Dome, but that place. There there was probably 20, 25, 30,000 people in that building watching freestyle wrestling. Like, I mean, there's a market for it, but it has to be done the right way. And you have to get the big name. You got to get the guys that people know. And unfortunately, like right now, there's not, I mean, they need to get like a Gable Stevenson involved, like guys like that to have a name that'll draw your common fan. And I don't know if they have anybody like that involved right now.
I'm also curious how the show's going to look because, like I said, it is amateur wrestling is kind of obviously the marquee here, but there's going to be some type of like entertainment or pro wrestling showmanship in it, and either it's going to be entrances or it's going to be the lights and the fireworks. If they have all that, I don't know how it's going to look.
Well, if they're smart, that they would set it up like the NCAA sets up the National Wrestling Championship, to have the mat up on a platform. They have the one wrestler come out from this side, the other wrestler comes out from this side. Hell, they even have some fire as the wrestlers are walking out. But I mean, if you just set it up like they set up the national championship matches, it would look good, especially if you put it in a smaller building where the atmosphere was loud and full. You can make it look good because they put them mats up on them platforms. It really stands out. Like the national championship setup. I don't know if you've ever watched it on ESPN or anything that when they have the NCAAs, but yeah, the setup is awesome. That's what they need to do. But yeah, and Hogan and them who knows, hell, they might try to have a ring. They might try to have a ring with ropes out there. I mean, you never know.
Yeah, I know Eric Bischoff. I seen an interview with him, and he's involved in it also.
Yeah,
and
that gives me some hope too, because Bischoff he's a pretty smart guy.
Right. He's a TV guy, and he said that they're hoping to get a TV deal or some type of deal, broadcast deal, whether it's pay per view or whatever. But there will be video packages with stories on each wrestler. They want people to get to know these guys, which is a good idea. I don't think that's a bad idea. And so they want to make it more TV friendly or pay-per-view friendly and have more video packages and things like that. So yeah, Bischoff has a clue. And again, I don't know how much Hogan involved in name only. I mean, I know he's got another project that just came out. They just announced he's going to name only basically, but the guy's putting up a bar across from Madison Square Garden, and it's going to be all kinds of Hulk Hogan stuff and all that kind of thing. And the name of the bar is going to be Slam. And it's right across the street. You can see it. You come out Madison Square Garden, right there's going to be this bar. But then you look at the ownership. Hogan has no ownership in it. He just he's probably getting paid. He's getting paid for.
He doesn't say he signed a license deal for his name.
Yep.
And look, I don't know. I mean, do you guys know if Hogan has any like former amateur wrestling experience? Maybe when he was younger.
I don't believe so.
Or I don't not that I've heard of before.
I don't think so.
See, I think they'd have been smarter. Bischoff would have I don't know I don't know who came up with the idea and brought it to who, but if you had Bischoff instead of Hogan, if you have Izzy Martinez, which is good, but if you had Cale Sanderson,
Kurt Angle,
guys like that, if you had them guys involved in it, it would draw. I think it would draw more people.
And I haven't, just a quick search, I haven't found any former background with Hogan involved in any amateur wrestling.
I was gonna say, not that I know of,
to my knowledge.
I mean,
he was in a rock band.
Hey, he was in Metallica, brother. Come on, he was between wrestling 400 nights a year. Since you had to go back and forth to Japan, he jamming out with Metallica, dude. He has a busy schedule. So I did find their like official Twitter account. I thought it'd be more than this, right? Now this might be telling, guys. The official Twitter account, like you said, for a company with, if you know wrestling for the most part, Eric Bischoff and Hulk Hogan, who a lot of people just know, just that's how popular or well known he is, rather. The Twitter account only has 2,638 followers. And this is this is their official account. And they announced a recent fight, 20 hours ago for their first ever women's matchup. It's going to be, now if I mispronounce this, I apologize. Zeltzine Hernandez taking on reigning Olympic gold medalist Sarah Hildebrand.
Okay.
Hildebrandt's an Indiana native.
Oh, yeah. Well, she'll be on the card.
She's tough. Yeah, they. I don't know.
Also a great start.
I don't think they're doing a good job of advertising it because I heard one thing about it like 3 months ago.
When
I
it
hadn't heard
launched.
nothing else about it. I forgot. I'll be honest. I forgot about it all about it till you just mentioned it, and I'd heard about it.
Yeah.
But I forgot all about it. They're not getting it out there because if there's a way to watch it, I'll watch it just because I like watching wrestling. But it's not.
Yeah,
They're not getting it out there.
Cleveland State don't make sense to me either. You want to go somewhere where wrestling is huge, and the first name is I don't think of Cleveland State.
Iowa or Penn State. I mean,
Yeah.
You know, I'm trying to even find it here, Chris, about where you can even watch this.
or even Ohio, or
I don't
Ohio
think they have I don't think they have a deal yet.
Which
I know
you got. 2 months. I don't know. I feel like I need to have a deal in place first.
Yeah.
But you have 2 months to hopefully get picked up by some. I don't think it's going to be any major retailer yet because I feel like this is one of those things that has to start from the ground up.
Yeah.
In a way. But they're not going to be like low level stuff, obviously, because they're known figures, so they're going to be kind of the mid level market for, I'm sure, production or for distribution at the time.
What they should do if they want to do this and want it to work, they should have got with Dana White and done this through the UFC. Because if you watch the UFC they're doing this tournament right now, it's all just Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, and they're starting to do these different shows and tournaments of just like some of the other martial arts. So if you've done like wrestling and you've done it under the UFC umbrella thing, and it was just a tournament and it was just wrestling, boom, then it'll draw, it's going to draw eyeballs because you have the credibility of you have the name UFC behind it.
Yeah.
Because like I said, if UFC's been advertising this Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu tournament on all their pay-per-views and all their stuff over and over, it's a UFC thing. That would whoever tried to start this, going and talking to them and trying to get something set up like that, to me that'd have been the way to get it, where you got promotion behind it and got a name behind it.
And it's also interesting too, Chris, because I don't know if they're good friends behind the scenes or if it's just for the camera, but Hulk Hogan and Dana White, they've hung out a couple times from what I've seen. Just at events or whatever at the shows.
Well, I don't know if Hogan's the right guy. To be honest with you,
I don't think Hogan's
because because like you said, he has name value, which if you watch wrestling in the 80s, it's that one guy.
But he has name. The problem is now he has name value both ways. Both ways. He has, because you still have the people that are still great.
They're gonna love him, whatever.
But then you have other people that he's going to turn away. So
it's a tough situation for them to be in. But we'll see what happens. Like I said, that's still about 2 months away. So we'll give any updates if they do find a pay-per-view provider, or if they do end up getting attached on as kind of a branch of the UFC, like we've seen, Chris, like you mentioned with the jiu-jitsu, or who could forget the slap fighting that they have.
Well, a lot of low-level wrestling companies, even some medium-level, they use a channel called Thriller TV. Thriller is a pay-per-view thing, and you can watch pay-per-views on there for $19, $29. So that could possibly be an option. They could do that. They could try to get on their network, at least starting out until they build up, and that could be a way that people could see it. And I don't know how all that works, but I know a lot of wrestling companies, smaller wrestling, not WWE or them.
Right,
Well, I think about AEWs that they just ended their deal with it because they signed with Max and stuff. So, but that's what AEW, one of the platforms they used was Thriller.
Okay. Yeah. And also we'll end it here. Dustin said that the Real American Freestyle must have the same advertising firm as the WNBA and the UFL, since neither of them believe in promoting their product. I will say this I'll start off with the UFL. Before I saw like commercials and heard about whenever it came back, and whenever like their championship game was happening, because I saw commercials for it. But that was it. I didn't see any highlights. I didn't see anyone talking about it. it was just kind of unknown. Unless, like I say, unless you follow a team that was in your state, which I didn't, so I didn't see a reason to watch any of it. And as for the WNBA, I will say this: I have seen more advertising and more talks about the WNBA we'll just say this year, right, than a lot of years past combined. Obviously, they're not quite to the advertising of the NBA. I don't know if they ever will be, but I've seen more effort put in. I've seen more commercials. I've seen more television highlights and more so just talking points as opposed to, here's a quick highlight. Here's a 3-pointer from one shot or from one game. They talk about multiple teams now. Like, it's not like in depth or anything, but they are doing a better job this year in marketing themselves. And it has hurt here in the last couple of weeks with Clark going down, obviously. I mean, I thought me and Jay talked about that in a separate episode, a separate video rather. We talked about just, if she needs an enforcer, all the injuries, not all, but the injuries she's accrued this year, since she kind of got drafted. But I think they are doing better. And I think we'll as long as the numbers go up, which they seemingly are, right, in terms of viewership and attendance and merchandise, I think we'll see more effort put into the WNBA. But as for the UFL, I don't think they're going to, I think they'll stick around, you would hope. But, I mean, I don't think I'm ever going to see a whole big, budget, or I'm not going to see segments on SportsCenter talking about this.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, we'll see. Chris, any final thoughts on that, or we all wrapped up here?
No, yeah, I don't have anything else on it.
Yeah,
All right, well, guys, we will wrap up here today. First off, thank you all for commenting, for chiming in here, like Dustin, Joe, Sonia, and, of course, Mike Hughes and Bo Crouch. Like I said, guys, enjoy your weekend. Take it easy as we get closer and closer to the start of July. For Tony and Chris Gonzalez, thank you guys so much for coming on the show. I've been your host and producer, Logan Landers. This has been the afternoon show here on the Elite Sports and Entertainment Network. Be safe, enjoy your weekend, and we will see you on Monday.